Hi, I'm Stephen Seligman, the British Shooting Performance Director. As we progress into the Tokyo 2020 cycle, we're very conscious about the world-class program and the world-class program selection criteria and policy. And we're conscious that at times it can come across as a rather wordy and lengthy document. So we thought we'd put together as a little video that can hopefully provide a bit of clarity and answer any questions that you may have around the selection policy and the selection policy criteria. We're very fortunate to receive funding from UK Sport and the National Lottery to develop, produce and deliver a world-class programme that principally allows us to provide bespoke support to identified athletes who are on their trajectory to Olympic success, principally in 2020 and then also for 2024. Within the World Class Programme we've got three distinct levels. We've got Podium Potential and GB Academy Programme, which all provide bespoke support at different levels through each of those three tiers. Podium and Podium Potential, there's 5 criteria that the selection panel consider. The first one looks at, have you medalled or finaled at major senior events over the last 12 months? It looks at, have you medalled at major events at senior level over the last 48 months, so that's principally within an Olympic cycle. We'll consider all that data and then have a look at whether your performance trajectory is on an upward curve, how consistent you are, can you peak at major events, how do you perform at major events, which then ultimately leads to the other areas which are in some parts subjective but also objective, which is, in the view of the expert panel, do you have the potential to medal at the 2020 Olympics or the 2024 Olympics? And that's a combination of looking at athletes' attitude, how do they perform under pressure, how have their performance data demonstrated whether they can perform under pressure, but also really critically looks at, are they actually able to commit to a full-time program of training, of support that hopefully will allow them to continue on their journey and aspiration to become an Olympic athlete. But that area of commitment is a really critical one that we need to consider as a selection panel. So when it comes to considering athletes onto the GB Academy program, this is very much more with a longer term view. We look to principally look at the same criteria as we do at Podium and Podium Potential, but we also look to see how the athlete's developing, aligned to the development goals if they've currently been or been within the program already. But there's also a longer term view, so we look at other tiers of competition. So how are they developing at Grand Prix events, how are they developing in domestic events. So all of that combines allows us to give a far more accurate picture of the developmental curve that aspiring athletes are going on, and we do believe that domestic events and also Grand Prix events are critical stepping stones. So there are additional information that we consider, as well as does that athlete have the potential to go on and win a medal at 2020 or 2024. There's a selection panel which is comprised of 5 experts from across shooting. That's principally led and chaired by myself as the British Shooting Performance Director. We have Phil Scanlon, who is the rifle and pistol representative. We've got Ian Peel, who is the shotgun representative. And then we've got the 2 head coaches from the World Class Programme and GBO in Kevin Gill for shotgun and Donald McIntosh for rifle. In addition to that, we also have a procedural advisor, and this has been one of the key components that we've looked to enhance the overall transparency and robustness of the selection process. So we have a procedural advisor who is principally a barrister, and that person's pure role there is to ensure that we adhere to and follow the selection policy criteria and the selection policy process, that in order to make sure it is absolutely robust and ensures that we consider all athletes against the selection criteria and then make informed decisions off the back of that. British Shooting is striving to create a culture of openness and transparency. So if you're not selected onto the World Class Programme, there is now an appeals process, a formal appeals process that has been developed and will be released as in addition to the selection policy. And we would strongly advise that any athlete who wishes to appeal, look at the guidelines, look at the information that's there, and if they feel as they would like to make an appeal, then follow the procedures that are then outlined within the selection policy. because this is the end of the Rio cycle leading into the Tokyo cycle, all sports, and including British shooting, are waiting for the UK sport funding announcement, which is due in December. As a result, the World Class programme will then be selected and announced on January the 5th, and this will form the new cohort that will progress into the 2017 Tokyo cycle. When you're selected for the World Class programme, you're principally honoured for a 12-month period. And within that 12-month period, we look for athletes to identify a series of performance and also development goals. The performance goals are principally aligned to major events, and we want athletes to learn the skills to develop and peak at major events. So we look for athletes to identify up to 3 major events within that 12-month cycle, by which they will then be assessed against their performances. And then in addition to that, we also look at the developmental goals, and that might be from a technical, mental or physical perspective. Those athletes that are selected at Podium and Podium Potential receive an Athlete Performance Award directly from UK Sport. And principally, I think one of the things to understand here is that the APA matrix isn't the selection criteria, which is quite often a question that I get asked. So I've achieved this level at this World Cup, surely I should get an APA. The APAs only come into effect once we've gone through the selection panel, have gone through the selection criteria, considered that, and then selected athletes onto the World Class programme. The next phase is, once those athletes have been selected onto the World Class programme, we cross-reference the APA matrix to align the APA award to those particular athletes who've been selected, depending on the performance level that they've achieved within the last 12 months. So if you're selected as a Podium or Podium Potential athlete, you get a bespoke full suite or package of support that's wrapped around you. We very much believe in athletes leading their own program, so it's about an athlete leading what they need, what competition program they need, what sort of training program they need, and what we then do is we wrap a support team of science medicine staff, world-class coaches that go around each individual athlete, but essentially what that allows them to access then is access to competitions, full training support, ammunition, clays, and a whole raft of, as I said, sports science, medicine, and research and innovation, and also coaching support that gets wrapped around each individual's bespoke team. When I came into the role about three and a half years ago, it was very, very clear there was a top of the tree at Podium and Podium Potential, but there was very, very little sitting beneath that. And British Shooting has been working really, really hard with the coaching team, the sports science, sports medicine staff, the athletes, to really build a sustainable pathway and a system. That progressed to the GB Academy program, but also now the evolution of the talent pathway. And we've now got to tiers at different levels that we can direct athletes to. So if you're not selected at Podium, Podium Potential or Academy, we've got other environments or platforms where people can go and receive quality coaching, quality support, and help them with their progression and transition into the World Class program. I think the other really exciting thing that we've been able to evolve and develop over certainly the last 12 months, and we've got more plans moving forward, is the GB squad system. So this is about providing athletes who are principally going to major events, or who are selected to major events for World Cups or European Championships, which is a squad-based program that supports those individuals to train and train alongside each other, and sort of create a really healthy, rich, challenging but supportive environment that allows our teams, when they go to major events, to be as best prepared as possible. We think it's important to provide some clarity around World Class Programme selection and GBR team selection. Just because you're selected on the World Class Programme does not guarantee you selection for GBR teams. It follows a separate selection policy. And all athletes who have aspirations to compete for Great Britain will come under the GBR team selection policy. And it's really, really important that all athletes, no matter where they are across the talent pathway, have an opportunity to be considered to be selected to represent Great Britain at major events. So we hope that's provided a bit of clarity and answered some of the questions you may have around the World Class Programme and certainly the World Class Programme selection selection policy. But what I would strongly advise you to do is go to the document, look at the frequently asked questions document that we produce as well, and contact us if you have any questions related to the selection policy or any aspects around the World Class Programme. We'd really be open to answering anything that you may, any further questions you may have.